me, Mr. Nayan Shah. He's the president of CREDAI-MCHI. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Uh, the finance minister announced a series of an economic package that would help industry tide over this period. I would like to understand from you what has been the impact of this package on the real estate industry. How does it help?
Yeah, basically, Jayashree, this is a regulatory and compliance package that the finance minister has announced. I don't think so. It is an economic package that has been announced by her. I think the first step which he has taken in the right direction is that all compliances and regulation, because fundamentally, only when we survive from the regulator point of view do I become eligible for the finance and economic package, that may be announced over a period of time. So all the GST filing date, the personal income tax filing date, so on and so forth, all have been pushed by a quarter.
Right.
Roughly by a quarter.
Right.
So I think that is a step in the right direction. This shows that the government has realized, although the Honorable Prime Minister announced the lockdown up to 15th of April, I think government is aware that it's not that come 16 morning, 10 o'clock, everything will be, up and running.
Right.
It's going to take time for people to settle down, to gather data, gather evidence, so on and so forth. So rather than just taking 30th April or 31st May, they have taken June, which I feel is a welcome step from their side.
Yeah. Sir.
And one more thing.
Yeah.
Just few days back, the Honorable Chief Justice of Supreme Court, Justice Bobde, announced that the limitation date will also automatically stand extended by a month.
Right.
Because of the forced measure.
Yeah.
So I think these two things put together, I think lays the basic foundation, for everything else to come now.
Right. So there are many payments that developers have to make on a monthly basis, right? There has to be some receivables and some payouts. Now, could you spell out what are those payouts and how can the finance ministry come up with a package that will help you?
Right. So, Jayashree, I would like to begin with a little background to answer your question. See, the real estate industry is by a triangle.
Yeah.
Just as a triangle has a three sides, on the top sits the customer. So today the buyer's confidence and the buyer's purchasing power is the most important thing.
Yeah.
That's number one. Then you come down and on the base you have two people. One is the supplier, which is the developer. And then, so the developer's ability to keep on supplying goods, to keep on developing is a very important. And on the third part, which is like an anchor, is the government. And in the government, I'll include everybody, RERA, the banks, the FIIs, and all other institutions, which are involved into the government format. So the planning authority, the approvals that I have, the environment ministry, everybody. So depending upon the support, everybody knows that the buyer's confidence has been shaken.
Yeah.
The buyer's purchasing power has been shaken. The ability of the developer to step in is limited to the extent of, what he can do.
Yeah.
No developer in the world can complete a project by his own funds. He needs, the churning to happen. So, so it all depends upon now what role the government plays. So now, coming to this triangle now?
Yeah.
What are the payments that coming specific to your question? Number one, are the salary and wages to keep my people going. That also I will divide into three parts. One is the office staff, the white collar ones. The second is the execution staff. And below the execution staff will be the laborers.
Yeah.
So the subcontractors, the contractors, because generally most of the developers, what they have is they give a contract to a particular person and then he gives subcontracts for fitters, carpenters, plumbers, electricians, housekeeping, security, so on and so forth. So these payments need to continue if the organization has to remain alive and if the organization has to sustain on a day-to-day operation. The second is the financial obligations. So my interest, my EMIs, my LAP, loans, the term loan repayment, so on and so forth. That is the second basket of payments. The third basket of payments is all the statutory payments like the TDS, the GST, the regulatory fees, the compliance fees, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
So these three payments today, all the three payments today will get affected
Right.
because of the drop in the cash flow.
Yeah.
Like every developer basically would have his source of income from the undisbursed loan that he has. Second is his own equity.
Mhm.
Third is the sale of the non-core assets that he has or the sale of the other assets he has. And fourth is the installments that come to him as and when he does the construction.
Right.
The major part comes from the installment that come to him when he does the development. Now that source will dry up, I feel, at least for 3 to 4 quarters.
Okay.
We,
Why do
we
you say that?
sorry.
Why do you say that? What percentage of your buyers are buying with borrowed money?
See, today almost 70% of a sale of a project is from borrowed money.
Right.
Most of the developers, if you see all over the country now, have a subvention scheme. And the subvention scheme is that you pay 5% now, and the balance you pay when I give you the OC with possession.
Right.
So what is happening is that the buyer has to follow a 5-step process. First is his own contribution, then his loan should get approved, then he should have enough money to pay the stamp duty, then he
Yeah.
should have a registration, and after the registration, he has to create a mortgage so that the disbursement happens.
Right.
And even if let's say Deepak, I'm just giving an example, Deepak of our Magic Brick, he were to buy. Now tomorrow for any reason, anything happens to Magic Brick, what ICICI will say, अरे दीपक जी आपका जॉब का खतरा है, तो अभी आगे का डिस्बर्समेंट मैं आपको कैसे करूंगा?
Right. Right.
You get my point. So it is about this whole scenario,
Of
the
the uncertainty of tenure of employment.
employment.
Right.
So Deepak is a very much employable person. He is going to get a great job. But when? 3 months from now, 6 months from now, when will he get the job?
Yeah.
So that is the whole uncertainty environment that we all are passing through as of now.
Are you noticing that the EMIs are not coming to you on time? The banks are not issuing the next level of disbursement?
See, well, Jayashree, what has happened, all of this has happened so suddenly
Yeah.
that it is, I cannot say that they are not giving me
Mhm.
because it has come up. They are also in a kind of a lockdown situation. And even if I get the money, my office is closed. I'm not supposed to go to my office. I cannot, I am not an essential service.
Right.
So, uh, so I cannot say yes or no.
Okay.
Whether my bankers are willing to give me the money. There is no doubt about it.
Right.
The bankers are willing to give the money.
You did issue a statement a couple of weeks ago, I think a few days ago, that a large percentage of consumers are not paying the EMIs have been defaulted on. Help us
Right.
understand why that happened.
See, I didn't use the word default.
Uh,
What I said that there is a slowdown in the EMIs that are coming from the customers
sure.
because the customer himself now is on a survival mode.
Right.
He just wants to ensure that his family, himself, all other essentials are always available to him.
Right.
And it is just last night that things became very clear when the Honorable PM said 21-day lockdown. So
Right.
now people know, for next 21 days, hopefully, everything will come to an end.
Right.
So this is the situation today. Priorities suddenly change for him.
Right. The consumers have also, a group of consumers, I think, body of consumers have asked that their EMIs should also be deferred. There should be a moratorium on their EMIs. Do you agree?
Of course, it has to happen. See, today we are in a kind of a force majeure situation, which is completely, it is like an more than an act of God, I would say.
Right.
The whole world is covered into it.
Yeah.
So if we isolation is the only way to come out of it, then where will the customers pay from?
Mhm.
We also have their salaries coming from the salaries, the EMIs get deducted. Well, they may have 2-3 months of DESCRA or something like that available, but you dip into it only when you default. So this, according to me, is
Right.
not a default situation as far as the customers are concerned. It is just
Right.
it is that they are not in an ability to pay as of now.
Right. So what are you doing? Are you talking to the authorities? Whom is CREDAI in touch with? And what hopes do you have?
So, Jayashree, at the moment, we are not talking to the government to give us relief, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
See, today the government is trying to see that your health and my health remain proper. And
Yeah.
despite the government having, I would say unlimited powers, the last mile requirement of a commodity, becomes difficult for the government also to manage.
Right.
See, I'll give you an example. Suddenly, we got a call about 12 days back from the Honorable Commissioner, Praveen Paddeshi, that I have a training facility known as MCMCR at Powai. It
Mm-hmm.
is a high-end training institute which has hostels, and it was the hostels were not being used, but the training facility of the auditorium and everything was being used. He
Yeah.
says, Nayan, I want you and your team to convert this into a 250 bed facility. Now, it's not that they don't have the money to do that, but to do that in 4 days, when all his staff is involved into other things. So we took up the challenge.
Yeah.
And we saw to it that within 5 days, a 250 bed facility with everything was arranged. ISKCON is giving the food, and so all the developers came together. Same way, we got a requirement 4 days back for about 60,000 PPEs, personal protective equipments. It's not that the equipments are not there with them, but then, to follow the tender and all that. So we immediately arranged. So what has happened is that the entire industry, not only real estate, real estate, of course, more in the forefront, because they have asked for empty flats for the nurses, the doctors. They have asked for open plots where they can start putting pods, like containers.
Yeah.
So they can become isolation quarantine facilities. So we are at the moment not talking to the government, what relief are you going to give to us, honestly.
Yeah.
We are asking the government, what do we do so that everybody survives?
Right.
And I think once the government realizes, that the situation is under control, I am sure the government is compassionate. The government is going to look into all the what kind of package do we give to them so that they come out of it and then the industry survives.
Right. Right. And we hope that we all survive this crisis together and come out of it stronger.
Yes.
With that hope, thank you so much. It's a festive season, Gudi Pada today, and there is Ugadi. There is a lot of festival being celebrated across India, and we hope that this festive season we'll all be safe, we'll all be healthy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.